Welcome back to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy, Mike C-Roc. And just want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening and all of your support of the What Are You Made Of movement. I always start off the show with gratitude because I really want to let people know how thankful I am for you guys allowing me to do this for you and bring you content, bring you guests that can provide value in your life and business. And I'm just really grateful for that. So, today's show is a special one. I have a friend of mine, Dr. Erin Fall Haskell, and I'm going to read a bio of hers. But before I do that, I want to remind everyone on the What Are You Made Of movement, and the number one dominating rule of WAMO, or What Are You Made Of, is to turn all setbacks, letdowns, negativity, anything that appears negative, into rocket fuel for your future. And once you can really get a grasp on that concept, your life will never be the same. You'll be able to handle things way better and produce more than you ever thought you possibly could before. So that's the dominating rule number one, the WAMO rule number one. And I always want to remind people that when you join the show, in case you haven't listened before, so you know what we're about. And it's very important to understand that. So let me give you a little background on Dr. Erin. Dr. Erin is one of the 11 most inspirational female entrepreneurs to follow on Instagram, according to Forbes. Dr. Erin is a doctor of divinity, founder of Soulciété, TV host Good Morning Lala Land, and the Dr. Erin Show, international best-selling author, 2016 Global Peace Leader Award, top-rated podcaster, and mother. She's also the CEO, producer, and TV host of Good Morning Lala Land and the Dr. Erin Show, which I've already mentioned, America's first live streaming daily talk show focused on good news, inspiration, and positivity. And I'm going to leave it there because there's a lot more that we could go into here, but I'm going to let you talk about some of that, Dr. Erin. And first, I just want to thank you for joining me on the show.
Cool. I'm super excited to be here. I'm trying to find you on Facebook so I can share out to all my peeps.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a laid-back show, so we just get into what are you made of. We're going to talk about your past and how you got to where you are and what kind of things that drive you. But while we're doing that, I mean, let's make sure that we can get this shared and people that are.
Yeah, I'm on your regular. Oh, I see it now. It's on there now. Okay, cool. Let me share it out. Let me share it out to my peep. Let's see.
Yeah, while we're all stuck in quarantine land and we're making the best of it.
I think okay, it's shared there. Okay, I just shared it to my group, to Soulciété Inner Circle. And then, I just started a watch party. That's not what I do.
Well, that works too. People, they'll get a notification
now. I shared it out there. Let me just share it one more place so everybody can see this. I don't know how to do this. I never share out on Facebook. I just started back on. I used to be on Facebook it looks like we're doing a watch party. I have no idea what we're doing. Okay.
No, that's fine. That means people are still watching. You just notified them that there's a watch party going on. So we're going to have a little bit more fun than just regularly posting it. So,
I don't think I did it all right, but yeah. So I've just been back on Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook that much the last couple of years. I've been on Instagram like crazy. And it's good to be back. I gotta say, I do like Facebook.
I love Instagram, but there's a different feel in Facebook, and I feel that there's maybe like a different audience,
for sure.
So just kind of handle it different. It's kind of like that post that they put out, like the Tinder, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and it had different pictures of everybody's different profile pictures for the different platforms.
Oh, I didn't see it.
They're all different. I'll leave that alone then. So anyway. When you come on the What Are You Made Of show, it's your job and duty to tell us what you're made of. So what we want to know is where you came from, how you got to where you are, and what inspires you to keep going even through tough times.
So my question for you is, do you want me to answer that from a truth perspective, from my spiritual perspective, or my, worldly perspective? Because there's two different answers. Meaning, what am I made of? I'm made of spirit. I'm made of the force that created the entire universe. I'm created from the backing of all energy that creates atomic bombs and can create heaven and can create hell and create everything. That's what I'm made of. That's the stuff I'm made of.
So that's literally. So that's
literally
good. I like to know that too. But then figuratively from your past and how you, So let's get that.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. No, I like to hear both of them. But now, so things, events that you've been through, experiences, people that you've had to deal with, things that you still look back on to use as fuel, not to regret or not to live in the past, but.
Yeah. I mean, I was born in a pseudo hippie commune in the hills of Santa Barbara. my parents were these gorgeous people. My father was like the, stud of studs. My mom was a Rose Bowl princess. My mom came from a totally poor background family with zero money. My dad came from a very wealthy, one of the wealthiest families in America. And they got divorced. I grew up in this, like, we literally went to the thrift store for our clothes. We didn't have any food. It was a really rare occasion when we had ice cream in the house. And I grew up with no rules or regulations because they got divorced, and it was like, where is life? There's no guidelines. The parents were kind of like, drinking, partying. It was like the leftover residuals of the 60s. I was born in the 70s. And I ended up, trying drugs and alcohol in junior high. I had sex in junior high for the first time. I had an eating disorder. I got date raped when I was 15. I had an eating disorder from the time I was 17 to 20. And I thought, well, it'll all take care of itself if I just get married. So I got married and got pregnant. Lo and behold, at 22, I had a full-term stillborn at 22 years old. And I was in nursing school, and I had a moment. I went to found out that my baby had died inside of me, and I went to the hospital. I had to give full-term birth to, labor to my baby. And I had this, moment the next day after giving birth to his body in the mortician's house of all alone. My family wasn't there. My husband wasn't there. And I just had this moment with, if you call a God moment or a universe moment, whatever you want to say. And I just thought, how the freak could life be so awful? And
how old were you then?
I was 22.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So needless to say, I've been divorced. I do have a 24-year-old now, but it sent me on a 25-year track of the most incredible, beautiful, amazing track that gave me my life, which is, I never thought in a million years I would be doing the work I'm doing. I didn't even know this existed.
And how long have you been doing what you're doing?
Well, I've been on the spiritual track since I was 22. Started seeking, just seeking my own, like, what the hell are we doing here? Seeking truth, seeking wisdom. I was very anti-religion because growing up in California, it's a really looked down upon thing in majority of culture in California. And then I began to really seek truth and figured out where the subconscious, how it links in with universal law, and began to recognize there's some real truths to what's going on from that tie into the physics, that tie into the universe, that tie into science and chemistry and everything. So needless to say, I'm science and mind minister.
Awesome. So,
yep.
Is it a religion? Is it a type of religion?
Technically,
explain for the audience.
Technically it's a religion. And unfortunately, in America, you have to decide. You can't be non-denominational and be considered a minister to actually be able to have the rights as a spiritual person. You have to state what you are. But I refer to all. I mean, I love all of it. I love all the different philosophies.
And so, what do you study though, as far as a book? Is there such thing?
Yeah, metaphysics. So if you look at like the New Thought movement, there's what's called unity churches, science of mind churches, divine science. It's all based in the lineage. There was a mental cure movement that happened in Europe where mesmerism, and this is where hypnotism and everything came from. But it's a lineage that goes all the way back. It's ancient truth. It's understanding the power of the mind. And I believe that a lot of the religions have kind of really demented. They've really tweaked the entire concept, thinking that God is some man in the sky or Jesus should be revered. It's really the consciousness that Christ was teaching. It's the consciousness that the mindfulness is. It's like, I'm like an atheist minister. That's basically what I am.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because and there's so much about the brain and the mind that we don't understand, and we don't even try to understand. It's kind of like a thing where if you try to go and try to study it and understand it more, you're kind of shunned. Don't go that far. Don't do that. I've heard that before. Just trust and have faith. And I have a problem with that because the more I learn about it, the more abilities that you have. Am I right or not?
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think the thing is, as we open, expand our consciousness, what happens is, we turn on our true abilities, our supernatural abilities. And I call it coming out of the spiritual closet, because I too was like, I can't talk about this with people and what's really going on. And I felt like I finally was like, I feel like a gay person coming out of the closet. I'm like, this is who I am. And just like, I can't deny it anymore. Like,
right. Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm transparent. I get into my beliefs all the time. I believe there's a God. I believe there's a creator. And I've studied that, but I don't argue with people about it, but it's just what I believe in. But I also understand that to me, if that's the case, I'll be given a certain potential. certain abilities to do things. And if I don't reach for my potential or try to understand how my body works, how my mind works, how my brain works, I'm doing an injustice to the creator that gave it to me. Does that make sense?
Mm.
And so,
Yeah, and it's done unto you as you believe, as I said. So everyone can have their own perspective of how it works. And if it works for you and it's true for you, then it's true for you. It's called relative perspective. So yeah.
right. And
Mhm.
it's a shame that people have to shy away from how they feel about certain things because they're worried about what people would think. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's one thing that I've gone away from pretty far, is worrying about what people think. So
Yeah.
I,
I love that in my 20s.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
That.
Next question was, how did you handle that as you were going through that in your early 20s, and
I
how long
think
did it
like,
last?
yeah, I think it's like most people, you end up having kind of a little bit of a double life for a little bit. Like, it feels like people have work over here and play over here, or what they really want to do versus what they have to do. And I think the whole point of it is to have an aligned life that is incorporating fully transparent, authentic life. And so, yeah, I mean, certain people don't belong in my life anymore. And it doesn't mean I don't love them or that, we don't have compassion for everybody on the planet, but everything began to get really clear. I think, as they say, as you live your truth, the path actually gets more narrow because right now in your heart of heart, what you like and what you don't like, what people really, spark your inspiration, what people kind of really feel like they're taking away from you. It's like Einstein says, life is like a bicycle. You're either riding and you're either going or you're falling off. You know what I mean? It's like, you literally, inside. And so for me, I began to you didn't have to do anything. As you stand in your truth and your consciousness, people disappear. They take themselves out of the game.
Right. At first,
Um,
they'll express their feelings towards it, but then eventually they go away
yeah,
or
there's no
come
point in
near, one or
arguing.
the other. Right.
One or the other.
Right. Right. It makes
Hmm.
sense. Yeah. I never really thought of it
Totally.
that way. Because everybody, yeah, it's a good point in business, and also when people are trying to grow a business or do anything that they're doing, when they go out, they're so worried about what people think, and then they'll run away from their dreams a lot of times. And if you just understand that, pursue them, they'll either come or go, but they won't stay hating for long and stay, riding you for a long time. And that's
Yeah.
a good point.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think it's one of those things. It's like telling somebody what they should eat, but it's not like, we all know what we should eat, but we don't necessarily eat what we should eat. It's more of the thing that it has to come from such a core aspect. What I found working with clients and birthing their truth and doing trauma work on them, that it actually is not really a logical thing. It comes down to getting so clear at a subconscious and a core level that everything shifts out here, but you can try and move everything around out here. It's like moving stuff on top of the table, but you don't actually deal with actually just moving the table,
right. And can you really live your beliefs and fully when you're doing that double thing, like you were talking about, until you really go all the way in your belief and not worry about what people think, you're really not, you're not committed.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we teach is about the universal law, and recognizing that's a power that literally just is informed by your belief, by how you be and how you live and how whatever you're committed to. The universe just says yes. It doesn't matter if it's to a penny or to $1 billion. It doesn't matter if it's yes to I'm confused, and so it's like fine. It just reflects back confusion, right? It just says yes. That's all it does. So we imprint. All our job is to get more clear. Clarity is power, and so the more that we do our inner work and get clear of what that true desire is, who we really truly desire to be and embody what principles, the universe is just going to test us over and over again. It's going to start just bringing crap into your life. It'll just bring confusion into your life because it's really about you getting clear. And when you get clear, everything, as they say, the universe conspires. So it's
Now,
done.
and are we referring to, when we say clear, are we referring to things that are holding us back, and basically reactive
So what
emotions?
happens is, so I trained, the method that I developed is called the E4 trauma method, and it's based on metaphysics. It's based on emotional trauma work. So what typically happens with people is they have limited beliefs. And how do limited beliefs come about? They come about many ways. Of course, they come through our epigenetics, through our parents and things like that. But they also come through big decisions that we made in this lifetime and past lifetimes. So what happens is, typically people have some traumatic incidences and they will decide something like life hurts, love abandons, something's wrong with me, I'm not enough, whatever that is. And it just impinges in the subconscious psyche, and it just plays out over and over again. So the primary work we're doing in any kind of spiritual work, or it may be empowerment coaching, it's really all the same thing, is you're shifting back to the all-powerful essence of who you are, the true essence, that pure potential, that all-knowingness, that all-greatness, that all-powerness. And from there, then we get to choose what we really want to, what voice we want to bring to the world, what legacy we want to bring. But how do we get back to that all-powerful beingness? And that's the billion-dollar question, right? How do we get back to that pure potential, all-powerful being that we are?
Right.
And
because look, even in the Bible, when I read the Bible, it talks about how God made us in his creation in his image. Right.
mm-hmm.
So we should be
do you want to start debating this? Because I don't believe God is a man.
No. Well, it says he in the Bible. I'm just going off of what I read in the Bible.
Yeah.
But he created a human being as an image, right, of himself. So if the Christian people reading the Bible, or whoever it is, based on that, should be living to strive to be all powerful.
Well, we don't want to say should, because we don't believe in shoulding on yourself. Because the minute you judge yourself,
I love it.
The moment that you judge yourself, the moment you are, what we resist persists, right? So it's metaphysics. Right. So there's a real dance in fully accepting and taking inspired action, instead of being like, I should, be up to some great things.
Or
if I could. Be really careful.
Right. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I like being held accountable. Thank you. So now, when you went through with losing the baby when you were 22, how long did it take you to get a grasp on that and not let that hold you back anymore?
It was actually through trauma work. I had been doing a lot of work, and, I had a lot of increase in success and a bunch of stuff, but it wasn't until I did my trauma work. I'll never forget. I went into a trauma session, and they said, do you want to handle a trauma? And right away, it was like everything in me, I knew it was like, I needed to handle that trauma. I was like, okay, let's do this. And I went into the session, and within, I think it was like an hour and a half and I went back into, we call it like regression, where you go back into the actual thing. So I'm going back into that day that I went into the mortician's house. I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm going back into the mortician. I'm talking about over and over, scanning it over, crying my eyes out. And then I scan it over, and then it's like, and then I was in the mortician's house, and I was looking down at my dead baby, and it just like neutralized, and it just like as is. And I walked out of that room that day, and I thought, I have no more sadness around this. And I thought, holy cow, imagine if everything in our life could be that complete, and that we could go into our life powerfully in the present, without any kind of resentment, without any kind of sadness, without anything about the past. And that is where I began to get so obsessed with subconscious work, because I realized that is the true power. Imagine if we took back all of our power from the past, right, and completely were here, fully here, present, 1,000% right here, right now. And that's what I began to get obsessed with.
Now, how does that differ from auditing? Is that similar? It's similar what they do in auditing, where they sit and they ask you to go back, and then there's all different processes of subconscious work. In cognitive therapy, it's called prolonged therapy. And yes, there's auditing. There's all kinds of ways. Similar to that, right?
It's based in Greek oracle processes and Socrates method. So there was a process of going back over, and it's just a metaphysical thing, right? So even if you go into auditing, that's based on other things. Those were like truths that have been, any of the things you see right now in the world in psychology or religion or any modalities, tapping, any of the stuff is based in like ancestral things from indigenous things and the Greeks and all kinds of things. It's all based way back in truth. Right. So we can't really say, well, it's based in this or this, because it's like, again, it's like taking a look at the things that are on top of the table. When we go back to the origin, it all comes from the masters that have been here, which were deities, really.
Right. So doctor, how does it, so when you are able to remove the emotion from it, how does that not hurt you going forward for things to happen for I'm trying to think. There seems like there's learning lessons from events. It doesn't erase the lesson that you may have learned from something that's traumatic, right?
Mhm.
Like, don't touch that. It burnt my
Yeah,
hand.
very
But
different, right? You don't want to have no emotion and be like, oh, I have no more pain from putting my hand in the fire. Let me
right,
put my hand in the fire again. But there is a difference. And the difference is this, is we call it birthing our truth, right? So birthing your truth is getting clear of what you do and what you don't like from a relative perspective. There's ultimate truths and there's relative truths. And so just because everybody is, doing empowerment work online and doing podcasts like we do, right, doesn't mean that you should. Right.
right.
So you have to find your own groove in life. So in that, you can go back and go, what did I learn from that? Versus the emotion around that trauma it's like puppet strings behind your life, and it's holding you back from being able to be fully present to make a choice right now of what you want for your life, instead of just playing out. Like, for example, as you know, many people have trauma from past relationships, and they just pull their baggage into the next relationship. And it's like, they're going to see the screen. Oh, he cheated on me, therefore you're going to cheat on me. Let me look through
Right.
the filter
Right.
of you're going to cheat on me. It doesn't work. It hurts you.
Yeah. So it's funny you said the puppet strings. I have an analogy I've been using a lot lately about, and I asked my team at the mortgage company, you guys want to be the puppet master or do you want to be the puppet? I use it with my kids when they react to each other. And the other one's trying to pick at the other one. Do you want to be the puppet or the puppet master? And everybody wants to be the puppet. I don't think that there's anybody that, and so it kind of triggers something in their head that, oh yeah, you know what? I am responding the wrong way. I am letting them control my emotions. So it's funny that you said that, but my signature story that I always talk about and how the What Are You Made Of movement got started, it all started back when I was 11 years old, and my father, I came from a broken home, and my father, after living in his house for 3 years, I was going through some emotional and mental abuse. And I decided to move back with my mom, and he was my hero. He always had a wad of $100 bills in his pocket. I always looked up to him for that. His business, a masonry business. So you see the bricks here. So anyway, he when I decided to move with my mom, he took a wad of $100 bills out, peeled a $100 bill off, crumpled it up, and threw it at me, and said, "Here, you're going to need this when you're living on the streets with your mother one day." So when I was 11 years old, I went through the stuff that I went through. And that moment, being given up on by your hero, was pretty traumatic. But I'm stubborn. So luckily I was able to think to myself, okay, first of all, I'm not going to let you win. And secondly, I can't be the only person on the planet that this has happened to. And I got to find other people that this has happened to so that I can be a role model to them and help them and show them what you can become after you go through something like that. So I kind of converted it, like I talk about Waymo rule number 1, is converting things into fuel for your future. And the main thing for me is to help other people. And
Yeah, I mean,
so,
that's the formula we use for people when we birth their truth and restore their power and we get clear of what they're really committed to. The third part of the truth triangle is birthing their purpose. And it's exactly what you just said. It's the formula of what's the hardest thing you've ever overcome. And that becomes generally someone's purpose. That becomes a legacy that they're here for. And I truly believe that everything has a reason. And maybe there's people that don't have that, but 99% of the people I've worked with, whatever the hardest things they've gone through, have become what is their purpose and calling. And so that's the blessing of that thing, because you would never be able to help another person if they hadn't experienced that. You wouldn't be able to relate.
right. And then the other thing with people, I really want to encourage people to share their stories. So I've had to have conflict with not sharing that because I'm worried about how it might affect my dad. Right. And we don't talk right now. And I would hug him if I saw him, and I've forgiven him for anything that as a kid. But the thing is that I had to concern myself with that as I'm coming out to share this, but I had to get that message out, because first of all, it's therapeutic for me. It's my story, but to help other people. And so I have this in the back of my mind, and I know other people do with their stories, that whether they've been raped or whether they've been beaten or whether they've been, whatever the case is, they hold it inside. And then maybe they're embarrassed by their story. Maybe they don't think anybody cares. They think they're alone in it. It's not a big deal. Those are the main reasons I see people hold back. But if they would just let their story out and then let the chips fall where they may, they could help themselves and numerous people and inspire millions of people, not just one person. That's as much as one person would be good enough. But you can, you just underestimate the power of your story, right?
No question about it. There's no question about it. But, again, it's one of those things, like, I think people either have that calling or not. And the good thing is, if you're out there, if somebody's listening right now and they're feeling down or depressed or, whatever that may be, it's sometimes it takes to go to that bottom to be able to go, okay, I really am going to, take on this next level of becoming a leader or something. And that, and I know that it's like, you have to stay in the misery for as long as you got to stay in the misery before you go, okay, I'm going to actually do something about it. So don't resist the misery, go deep in there, because that's generally where the greatest wisdom comes, in those emotions. And I'm not a big advocate of the positive movement, because positivity comes when it's authentic. When we try and become positive, when we're not authentically positive, it's a bunch of BS.
Well,
and it hurts a lot of people. It actually hurts them from not actually being able to fully take the wisdom that comes from those deep, dark emotions.
Yeah. I mean, no offense to any cheerleaders out there. It's a sport and great. I'm not talking about that part when I say this. But cheerleaders have a fakeness about their cheerfulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of a cheer, like when you're positive without
Yeah.
the genuineness, it's more of like that cheerleader, like that fake smile, and like the
Mm-hmm.
Saturday Night Live skit with Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like that. So yeah, I mean, I think that you have to be realistic, looking optimistically at the future and understanding that what you're trying to go for, but really accepting, and acceptance is a big thing, especially what's going on right now. I know Grant
Oh,
Cardone
yeah.
talks about this a lot.
Huge.
Is getting to acceptance as fast as possible, skipping stages of denial, cheerleading, all that, get right to acceptance and then figuring out what you have to do. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
pivot for a second here. So you want to help people, and that's, I'm sure, one of your main missions, right? Could you speak on what your main core values are for what you're trying to accomplish? And then I want to talk about your
Sure.
business.
My mission is to awaken 1 billion people on the planet. And how I do that is by developing spiritual leaders and coaches and soul-based entrepreneurs. So what was the question again? I forgot
Well,
that. What was my
what
core
your
value?
mission is to do that, and your core values.
Mhm.
What are you trying to accomplish out of, what is your why?
Sure. For me, it's like truth, if you will, has given me my life. It's given me my own self-love. It's healed me from all the traumas, and it's given me the ability to claim my birthright of prosperity and vitality, and having amazing relationships. So my mission really is to just bring truth to the world, as in all different forms. I do a daily truth right now at 9 a.m. across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, everything. I've worked with hundreds of thousands of women around the world, and we're just beginning. I mean, I'm just a puppy, you know what I mean? Like, it's really exciting. And I know that right now more than ever, their values, their core values shift more and more through things like this, which is a huge blessing. So some of the darkest things we go through become the biggest blessings of our life, because they shift you and get your priorities straight. And so, yeah, a lot of people don't even know what their values are. I'm thinking, how the hell do you go through life not knowing what your values are, or what your core principles are, or what you're committed to? I mean, I would be a disaster without that. It's my
Right.
driving force.
You're totally in reactive mode at that point. And that's a very tough life to live. A lot of people think it's easier not to come up with their wants and desires and dreams and core values. They think it's easier not to. And when
Yeah.
actuality, it makes it harder to live your life when you're in a constant reactive mode all the time. But if somebody would just try that, and just try to write your goals and dreams down, just try to have some core values, and then live it and be proactive about it, and watch the difference in your life, of how easy your life goes, the kind of people that you attract, the success that you have. It's amazing. So how do you go from so a lot of people are doing things that they want to do. They have their goals, they have their mission, right? And then they start doing it, but they don't monetize it. So how did you go from wanting to help people to turning it also into a business, which there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. A lot of people say, well, you're just trying to make money.
No.
You're trying to help solve problems and exchange you basically your time for money.
Yeah.
So
I
how
think
did you?
there's a lot of limited beliefs and a lot of shame around money. And we have this concept that money is something that only certain people have, or whatever. And when you get the concept that it's all energy, this is all energy. Your energy, every single thing in this universe is energy. And money is an exchange of energy. That's all it is. And so if you want to have an impact in the world, you want to have money. I mean, it's like, duh, 101, right? It doesn't mean that you have to, the root of evil is not money. It's the use of money that could be the root of evil, right? So I got really clear on understanding that, I mean, I revere money in that it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to make an impact in people's lives and have them be able to have good food and have nice things and be able to help their family and their friends and make an impact in the world. So what happened was I became really obsessed with understanding the basics of money when I was actually in my 20s as well. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, things like that, and understanding which kind of fascinating, because the same concepts that are in money are the same concepts of spirituality. For example, the universe only knows abundance. There's no such thing as lack in this universe. There's infinite ways of putting the mathematical equations of the different elements of the universe together. Same with money. Right now, we're sitting at a pandemic in a financial crisis, and there will be more millionaires and billionaires made right now than any of the high points in the economical system. So what happens is we now have the opportunity to innovate at a level and pivot and do things. So for me, it all began in my 20s. I became a self-made millionaire by the time I was 30 with passive income, and then have launched a multiple six-figure company, coaching online, and invest in different things. So for me, I just believe in our birthright of prosperity. I believe in it fully, and I think there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. As long as we're not buying things like, even I have to look right now and go, what I've been buying that's hurting the environment. And I think we all need to take responsibility. I don't care if you have zero money or $1 zillion. We have to take responsibility of what we're buying and all the plastics and everything. And we're all responsible for that.
Yeah. Look at all the pollution that's gone down since we've been in quarantine.
I know.
It says something. Now, what did you use for passive income vehicles, if you don't mind me asking?
I used to buy and fix up homes in my 20s. While I was doing my spiritual work, I was buying, and I had no money whatsoever. Literally, I remember buying, fixing up a home and making $4,000 on the home. Okay. Like, we're talking slumlord. Okay. Like, right. I would just do anything I could. So I was doing real estate. I was doing my spiritual work. And what happened is, as I began to make more money in my passive income, my time I didn't have to work as much, and my time factor went up. So my time that I would spend doing self-development and spirituality went exponentially up. And finally I became financially independent, and I handed all of my life over to my spiritual work so I could do it full time.
Now the thing, but you made $4,000, right, on some of those houses, but the lessons that you learned were priceless. So people forget about that part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's like my son right now. They're having to potentially dissolve their company through this thing right now, this pandemic. And he's got such a great mindset. He's like, Mom, but I'm learning so much. Like, you can't, these lessons are priceless, Yeah. And it's like, fail fast. The lessons, like you said, that the lessons are what you're developing mindset and skill set that no university can teach you, and that nothing can teach you other than just going into the trenches.
If you're aware. Right? Because there's some people that are putting their heads down through this. And as soon as this started to happen, I told my employees and I told all my coaching groups, watch what's going on, watch how you react to things, write it down, journal it in your phone, write it down, record it. I don't care. Journal through this whole thing, because in 2008, I was in the mortgage business, went through all that, and we came out stronger at the other side. And I learned through all that, so that I was just waiting for this thing to happen again. I didn't know what was going to happen, right? I didn't, but I knew that, and I kept telling my team, things were going great last year or so. Things are going great, guys, but we got to prepare. We got to prepare. Things aren't going to be this easy. We're going to have to shift our mind and shift our tactics of how we get business. I'm telling you guys, let's go. We got to be ready. And then this happens. And here we were already remote. Like, it took us 3 days to get everybody at home working, and we didn't miss a beat. We had a record month in March. Right. Now, I feel bad that people are dying right now. Of course, I'm not trying to be insensitive. Some people take this the wrong way, but we had a record month in March. We're going to have a record month in April, because we were prepared and we learned as we were going through this before. So that's the advice that I gave people early on in this. And I'm hoping people listen to me and documented what's going on so that they can see as they go what's going to happen with this. So I wanted to ask you about, what is it called? TV Lala Land?
Good Morning Lala Land.
Good Morning Lala Land. I'm sorry. So tell me about that.
Good Morning Lala Land is America's first daily live streaming talk show. And we basically deal with positivity, inspiration. We've had 1,600 people on the show, 3,600 episodes. And we're on, obviously, hiatus right now. Right. But we are about to launch online through some incredible technology. And I don't know if I ever want to go back to a studio, quite frankly.
You know, that's the thing about this. Like, a lot of people aren't going to want to go back to the office, and I'm on the hook for a lot of leases. So I'm like, what are you doing? No, but so it's a live TV show, in-person guests, right?
It has been, it was all in person, but now maybe not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's awesome. Well, listen, how can my audience connect with you? What's the best way? Instagram or?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all under Dr. Erin, DRERIN.TV. And I've got all kinds of free gifts. I have a free book, which comes with 40 guided meditations. I have a free community that we have. I do the Daily Truth, and they have actually 5 support calls they can jump on anytime with ambassadors right now. We have all kinds of content in the back end. That's Soulciété Inner Circle. So there's a Facebook group here called Soulciété that's free. You can just DM me, whatever works. Yeah.
And how many people do you have like on your team? Because a lot of people see Dr. Erin, right? Or they see me on the What Are You Made Of podcast, and they're like, man, how do you do all that stuff? I mean, where do you find the time of the day? They don't realize the work that goes on behind the scenes and the people that are involved that aren't ever seen.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting right now. Some of my team in the Philippines got taken out because their internet's down from miscellaneous things or whatever. So I've been doing a lot of extra work the last little bit.
Yeah.
But I also have a lot of ambassadors that do volunteer work. And I keep it really simple, quite frankly. I think like you, I went through 2008. I've seen moguls in my life lose everything because their overhead's so big. So I keep everything fairly simple. I'm a real simple, I'm very minimalist when it comes to business.
Awesome. Well, Waymo crew, please go support Dr. Erin as you do all of our guests. If she comes on here, I want to make sure we lift her up in some way. And if there's anything that I could ever do for you, Dr. Erin, all you got to do is message your boy C-Roc. I'm here for you. Anything I don't know what it would be, but anything that you need, I'd be happy to help you out. And I started the show with gratitude, and I want to end it with gratitude. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your work. I know that you bring positivity to so many people. And here's to all of us thriving through this pandemic and also just, rising in ways we never knew possible. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Until next time, guys, you've been listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy C-Roc. Please go subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform, and the YouTube channel, Mike C-Roc, Ciorrocco. Please go subscribe. Tell your friends and family. The only way that I can do what I'm on, the mission that I'm on, is with your help. And I really appreciate that. So until next time, I will talk to you soon.